Ugh, those quintessons. What could possibly be worse than the quintessons? No, not you again! You may not be the Sentinel I know, but you're worse. Please. I will tear you apart! No! What's going on, everybody? Republic Cinema here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Studio Series Voyager class TF1 Sentinel Prime. So finally, we're going to be taking a look at this figure, which is a really cool figure and rather a cool upgrade of the Prime Changer Sentinel. Also, this is a figure of one of the most disgusting Transformers I've ever seen. He basically enslaved a whole bunch of Cybertronians and also removed their T-Cogs. However, what I did find ironic about Sentinel Prime was he too was kind of a slave. Of course, there were the Quintessons, which basically ruled Cybertron. Anyways, that part of the movie was very satisfying when the truth was out and Sentinel Prime was exposed, and not long after given a comfortable treatment. By comfortable, I mean not really. Previously, we've taken a look at the Prime Changer Sentinel Prime, which was okay, but how does the Voyager class version from the Studio Series improve from the Deluxe class from the Prime Changers version? Before we take a closer look at the figure, let's take a quick look at the packaging. And again, this is the updated packaging, which means there's no studio backdrop or numbering system. But hey, the clear plastic windows are back. On the front of the artwork, you get this really cool artwork of Sentinel Prime, along with his alt mode, and on the right side over here, as you can see, there's a bit of an extension from the artwork on the front side of the packaging. On the top is, yet again, the Transformers 1 logo along with Sentinel Prime's name. On the left side is, again, the same artwork for Sentinel Prime, just zoomed in. And on the back of the artwork, you get a little more info of what you get inside, along with a sneak preview indicating what you can do with the figure. You bet we'll be taking a look at that later in the video. But anyways, enough with the packaging, now moving back to the figure. So starting off, the painting and sculpting is really good. There's just something about the sculpting of the figure that kind of almost replicates the artwork that we saw in the movie, especially on the head sculpt. I'm also impressed with how there's little to no kibble on the arms, except for the legs. However, the legs store the alt mode kibble very well. Same thing with the backpack, which is accurate. What I do like about this design is that the wings over here are kind of a reference to Bayverse Sentinel Prime's wings. The quality of this figure is also pretty good. Nothing's too tight or too loose, but there's some piece of plastic a little flimsy over here. I can't really point my finger where exactly. But overall, the quality and kibble control is pretty good on this figure. Now let's talk about his accessories. Starting off, he comes with this purple shield, which he used in the movie sometime in Never, for all I remember. The shield plugs on to the side of the blue arm. There you have Sentinel Prime equipped with his shield. He also comes with these null rays, I think is what they're called. You're given the option to plug them onto the side of the shield, or you could have them equipped onto Sentinel Prime's hands as if they're dual-wielded pistols. Wait a minute. They don't work so well over here. Is there any weapon storage on the back? Nope. However, you could slide the blue shell outwards, turning Sentinel Prime's arm into his arm cannon, which he did use in the movie. The other hand, too. And that's pretty much as far as accessories go. One thing that would have been nice to see on this figure is his double blade sword. Just like the Bayverse adaptation of Sentinel Prime, the TF1 adaptation of Sentinel Prime also had a double-bladed sword, which unfortunately this figure does not come with. Or the gun that he used to kill the Primes with. If you have the Studio Series Sentinel Prime, or more affordably the Byway knockoff, you could put the double-bladed sword onto this Sentinel Prime just fine. And if you have the Kingdom Cyclonus, I find his blaster to be a little accurate to the blaster that Sentinel Prime used to kill the Primes with. Now, I guess that's pretty much it for accessories, but may I showcase something to you really quick? To start off, bring this golden piece down, bring this blue face mask in, and then close this back in. Open up the panel, which will reveal a gun. You can close that back in if you want. You can do the same thing for the other side. Slide the arm cannons forward again. Spread the chest pieces outwards. Open this flap outwards and pray the blue piece does not come flying out like my copy does. Close this back in. Open this piece outward. Same thing with this. Bring the heel down. Same thing for the other leg. plug the shield back to the arm, and here you have the Studio Series TF1 Sentinel Prime in, what's this battle mode called again? Anyways, here he is a little more armored up. If you want, you could also plug the null rays back on the shoulder of Sentinel Prime. It's just, that'll kind of prevent this from tabbing in completely over there, but hey, more firepower, I guess. Moving on to articulation. Starting off, the head is only on a swivel joint, flap from side to side, and this part can also move up and down. Full rotation at the arm, bend at the shoulder, elbow swivel, bend at the elbow, no wrist swivel, but hey, there is waist swivel. The legs can spread, the leg can move up, can also move back, bend at the knee swivel, the foot can rock from side to side, the front of the foot can move up and down, and there you have it for articulation. Pretty basic. Let's move on to size comparison. Starting off with some fellow Sentinel Prime figures. Here he is next to the official Hasbro Studio Series Voyager Sentinel. And then here he is next to the Biowave version. Also here he is next to the Biowave version of the Voyager Studio Series Ironhide. And then for some TF1 figures, here he is next to the Prime Changers Orion Pax, Alpha Trion, Quintesson, Sentinel Prime, B127. For some Studio Series, here he is next to Optimus Prime, Megatron, B127, the Yellow Park Orion Pax, D16, Elita, B127. For some other wave mates, here he is alongside Dark of the Moon Q, War for Cybertron Ironhide, and lastly, here he is next to my recent reviewed, the Transformers Studio Series Devastation Optimus Prime. But wait, we're not done yet, as here he is next to the rest of the Studio Series TF1 cast. Can't wait for the other two TF1 figures to come out this year. Can't believe there's only two left coming out this year. As for next year, that's another story. Also, here's Studio Series Sentinel Prime paired along with the rest of the TF1 figures I own. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The figures are slowly but surely and gradually increasing in numbers. As for the Studio Series TF1 figures that have been released so far, be sure to leave a comment down below which one is your favorite. Also, Hasbro, when exactly are we going to see that Studio Series Starscream figure? Can Studio Series Elita 1 come sooner? But now I think it's finally time we move on to the transformation part of this review. To start off, leave the arms at a T pose because we're going to work on the legs. Bring this out again. Also bring this out, close it in, and then close this in. Same thing for the other leg. Connect the two legs in. Now let's work on the back. Untab the nose. Shift this all the way back. Close this in, also close this in. Next, you're going to work on the wings. Starting off, bring this back, and then before closing it in, make sure that this tab pegs in onto that slot right there, and then this slot pegs onto that tab, like so. Bring this flap out. Moving on to the arms, push this up, untab this whole assembly, shift it downwards, make sure that this tabs all the way in, and that this gray slot pegs in onto that yellowish, golden-ish tab right there. Make sure that the two tab in together. Same thing for the other arm. And I believe you should have the Studio Series TF1 Sentinel Prime in his jet mode. Now, I want to be totally honest here. I did not look at the instructions when I transformed this guy. So I'm not sure if I missed something. I'm pretty sure I got every step over here. Lately, I've noticed it's a trend with these new Studio Series figures where it's pretty easy to transform these, but not until we get to the Age of Extinction Optimus Prime, that's for sure. For TF1 Sentinel Prime's transformation, however, it was pretty straightforward. I did appreciate how all the tabs and slots tabbed in nicely well, and overall gave us this nice looking jet mode. The painting and sculpting, pretty good, pretty good. However, I believe we've barely seen this jet mode in the movie. I don't even think we've seen the jet mode at all. Anyways, unlike the Prime Changers figure, these guns are molded in onto the wings. They're also blast effect compatible. For weapon storage, I believe the shield just tabs in on that tab on the top. If you want, you could have the null rays facing backwards as a rear defense. Oh, and these are not blast effect compatible, by the way. You can also flip these guns out, like so. And I think that's as far as weapons, accessories, and accessory storage goes. If you wanted to see what the alt mode looks like on the bottom, well, here you go. The robot mode kibble is sticking out so much on the bottom that it also happens to stick out over here too. What's going on? I'm just glad everything tabs in nicely well. Also, when transforming this figure, you're given the option whether or not to have Sentinel Prime's head like this or this. I believe this is the recommended part. I don't know. Either way is fine, I guess. For a brief comparison, here he is alongside the Prime Changers TF1 Sentinel Prime in his alt mode, the official Hasbro Studio Series Dark of the Moon Sentinel Prime in his alt mode. Here they are all together, and there you go. There's your brief comparison. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it for my Reviewdeo of the Transformers Studio Series TF1 Sentinel Prime. Overall, he is a very good upgrade from the Prime Changers Deluxe. He may not come with the accessories that he used the most in the movie, but he still comes with a lot of accessories, not to mention this really cool feature right here. The transformation is simplistic, and the alt mode is pretty good too. If you're collecting the Studio Series TF1 figures, you might want to look into buying this one too. If you are, he's available over on Amazon and other online stores. For out in the wild type of physical retail stores, you have a good chance finding him over at Walmart. That's where I found a copy of the Studio Series TF1 Sentinel Prime at. But for Target and GameStop, I'm not too sure. Again, be sure to let me know down in the comments if you have spotted this figure over at those stores. But anyways, I guess it would be cool to see a dead version of this guy, if you know what I mean, where it's basically the same figure, only his color scheme is completely grayed out. They should probably do the same thing for that Studio Series TF1 Orion packs coming next year. Might as well put those two in a 2-pack while they're at it. But again, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think about this figure. Do you like him? Are you going to pick him up? Do you not like him? Are you not going to pick him up? And if you like what you saw in this video, be sure to slam that like button. Share this with your friends as well. Turn on post notifications so that way you don't miss another upload. Let me know how I did in this review. And most importantly, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. Teo! Forgot to mention, there's no way of simply untabbing one half of this figure off of the other, unless you feel like loosening some screws. Thank you very much for giving us extra work, Hasbro.